Welcome, everybody. This is Kathleen Gage with the podcast Rockstar Club. And today I am talking with Natasha Tatton, who is one of the owners and founders of Ed's Bred in Whistler, BC. And Natasha, it is great to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always nice to talk to you, Kathleen.
Yeah.
We share a lot of similar interests.
We do. And one is getting on podcast shows. And I want to start with you telling us a little bit about your business and how long you've been getting on podcast shows. We'll start with that. And then I've got some very specific questions. And then I want to talk about results you've been getting that, honestly, you are blowing me away with your results.
Thank you.
You're getting some great results. So go ahead.
So I co-founded the organic sourdough bakery Bred with my husband. He's called Ed. He makes the bread. Our concept is 100% plant-based and it's quite unique because we're nestled at the base of Whistler Mountain in British Columbia in Canada. And so we are in a ski town and a mountain bike resort. So there's a lot of athletes in town, but we're in the original village, which is small. It's not in the main village. So we're on the backside of the mountain. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is to become a destination bakery where people who are thinking about going skiing, they'll say, should we go to Europe? Should we go to Canada? Maybe we should go to Whistler because we could visit that really cool bakery. So part of us getting visibility, our strategy, because we bootstrapped our business, we funded it all ourselves and got loans. So we didn't have a whole lot of cash in the bank to spend on massive advertising campaigns. So we've been thinking, how can we get the word out there that our bakery's here? So, of course, social media is great. And we've been growing our following on Instagram quite considerably since we opened. It's a great platform for food. And getting on podcasts has also been very helpful as well in a number of ways. It's given us interview practice and, of course, made us more visible to other audiences.
And I know that in the beginning, you had your concerns about getting on podcast shows. Would they give you a return on investment? One is you invested in the podcast Rockstar Club, and you did something different than what a lot of people do, which is you actually went in and went through all the training. And I remember at one point I said, I think you went through about 85%. And you said, no, I've gone through the whole thing. And, that's one of the distinctions of why you're getting the results you're getting is you immediately dug in. But before we get into that, let's talk about the very first show you were on. How long ago was that? And what's been happening since that time?
So the first show we were on actually approached us, and it was long before I knew that podcasts were really much of a thing. It was back in, I think, January or February in, I guess it was 2020. So it was about a year ago. They approached us. It was a vegan couple. They interview all the vegan business owners in Vancouver. And we're kind of seen, we're 2 hours drive north from Vancouver, but a lot of the Vancouver people have weekend homes up here in Whistler. So we're kind of seen as an extension of Vancouver. So thankfully they asked us to go on the show, and I'm so glad that there wasn't a video on that particular podcast because I was super nervous and didn't really know what to say, and it kind of felt like one of those out of body experiences. And so then a few months later, a local athlete, Julia Murray, she has a vegan food blog and she started the Whistler Vegan Fest, and she thought of us being a vegan Whistler business as one of her first guests on her show. So the first couple of shows actually reached out to us. And then that's when I started to realize like there's something to be gained from visibility in this area. So that's when I eventually found you through the Vegan Women's Leadership Network started by Katrina Fox. We met on a conference call, and when I watched your session on how to get onto podcasts through the Vegan Women's Leadership Network, I really realized that you have a lot of information to offer people. You know what you're talking about. You've been in this business for a while, and I don't like to part with my money very easily. I don't have a lot of money. So anything I pay for, I'm going to make sure that I commit to it. So as soon as I signed up for the podcast Rockstar course, I did my best to complete it as quickly as I could and started implementing all the work, like starting the one sheet, starting the research and reaching out to podcasts. And I was surprised actually how many people are quite grateful to have a guest with something to say, with a message. A lot of the hosts I've reached out to have been very responsive, and it's been easier than I thought to get on shows. There are a couple of bigger shows that have kind of ignored us. Hopefully we're in their sort of back pocket. They've been sending the reminders and updates of like other publicity we've had. To try and like woo them, but they still have put us on the back burner. So I think we're going to have to, I don't want to be seen as someone that's like harassing them. So I'm just going to kind of leave it for now. But
well, I want to remind
we've had
people,
a lot of progress, but there's still a little bit further.
Okay. And I want to kind of remind people, I want to take them on the journey that you just took us on, which is the two of us met through the Vegan Women's International Network, Leadership Network, started by Katrina Fox. And that is a network of professional women who are all within the vegan plant-based industry. So it's very, very niche, very specific. Katrina approached me about doing a training program to this group of women. And I responded with an absolutely yes, I would love to, because I'm growing that particular part of my client base within that industry. So I took advantage of that opportunity. And I want people to hear that is how you found me. And as a result of that, you parted with your money, and you're not one to easily part with your money. So I really want people to understand that belonging to professional networks and getting involved in being visible is key to your success. The next thing you did is you rolled up your sleeves, you went into the training material, and you went through it as quickly as possible. Then you started implementing the information. This is where I have to say, as somebody who put a lot of effort into creating the program, I get pretty frustrated when people will buy a program and they don't do anything with it. And it's like, why are you investing in something if you're not going to put the time and effort into it? Because the information definitely works, as has been proof in the pudding. And I encourage people, if you have questions, go ahead and post your questions in the Facebook group. I want to remind people that you are watching the podcast Rockstar Facebook Live. It's for members only. And once we go through it, it gets uploaded to YouTube and it goes on iTunes, and it will go out into cyberspace. But it's only for members who have gotten 3 shows booked as a result of what they learned from the training material in the podcast Rockstar Club. I'm talking with Natasha Tatton, who is one of the owners and founders of Bred in Whistler, British Columbia, also known as Ed's Bread, because her husband is Ed and he makes bread. And together they make bread, both the kind you eat and the kind that you can spend. And it's so interesting because you've had some really great opportunities present themselves as a result of being on podcast shows. Why don't you share some of those opportunities that are starting to show up?
For sure. So I live in a ski town. So an analogy I would like to make is the podcast Rockstar course is like the chairlift that takes you to the top of the mountain. And then you have to learn how to get your turns in. And now I feel like I'm connecting the turns and I'm getting momentum. I'm moving down that mountain. And what I mean by that is in January, we were on 3 podcasts. We've got a couple more booked next week. And this led to some other things. The resort here have a marketing agency called Tourism Whistler, and they were sponsored by a bigger agency called Destination Canada to home in on some of the local businesses and market the story behind them. So we were so fortunate that they put together this amazing blog post and promotional video of 2 minutes long. And it's really good quality as well. Like, it would have cost a lot of money if we'd paid for this. They put together this video for us, and the interviewers said that we were such a dream to work with, that we interviewed really well. And I think it's because we're used to going on podcasts and getting our interview technique like to a T, and lots of similar questions come up in these interviews. You know, why did you choose to open your business? Blah, blah, blah. And so you end up rehearsing your answers. So if you are sort of given an opportunity for radio, TV, or any other media, you're in a much better position to perform. So that was great. We've also been doing some Instagram live sessions with some of the people that inspire us, like Doug Evans, the Sprout Man. And this morning, Ed did an Instagram live with Steve from the Happy Pear. He's one of the kind of vegan celebrity chefs, if you like, based in Ireland. They've got over 500,000 followers on Instagram. So Ed's interview went live to all of their audience and, of course, our own audience. We were featured in a vegan food and living UK magazine. Mm-hmm. That was through a connection with Lisa Fox, who is a co-founder of Vegan Business Tribe, another vegan business network that I'm part of. And so we just found that January has just been this huge like snowball of traction and visibility and opportunity. And I really think that doing the podcasts consistently has helped gain more visibility, helped give us confidence, and it's just set us off on a good path to be getting media attention, which we so need right now.
Right. And you know, one of the things about media attention is you can pay to advertise, and that's one type of media attention, if you will, or you can do promotions where you get featured, and that's much more powerful. And
it is.
Lest anybody think that, oh, well, you're in the vegan industry and that's why you're getting the visibility, has nothing to do with being in the vegan industry. It has to do with the fact that you're very niched, you're very targeted, and you're doing the work. And you're saying yes to the opportunities, even when your palms are sweating. I mean, you know, I don't want people to think that there isn't fear that comes with this, because there are times that you're going, ooh, will I be able to hold the conversation long enough? Will I have enough to say? People have already heard the story. Why would I want to tell it again? Those are the kinds of things that we'll say to ourselves that can stop us. But you've had incredible opportunity open up. And what would you say for those people who are kind of sitting on the fence? They've not really done anything to go out and find opportunities. What are 3 simple steps that they can take that will really move them closer to getting the opportunities like what you're getting? I mean, to be featured in a promotional video for your town and for your state, your province, and for the story that Lisa Fox did. I was amazed at just phenomenal coverage. And you just keep getting more and more and more. So what are 3 steps that people can take that are baby steps and they're easy steps?
So first thing to do is to become a podcast listener yourself, so that you can really understand how it works, what the interviews are like. If you've never listened to a podcast, I imagine that you're going to have a lot more concern about being on one. But the more that you listen to shows, then the more you understand the format, the more you understand, what's expected. So first of all, listen to shows, and of course, find shows that you could be on. And what you'll probably find is that they're quite interesting to listen to because they're in your field. So you can just type a subject in Apple, like veganism would be ours, or baking, or even small business, local business, whatever your topic is, some tags, and find podcast shows, and then check to see that they're current, that they've had episodes released in 2021. Otherwise, they've been shelved and they're not taking any guests, I would imagine. Sometimes they have seasons. So if you can see that like they run it for 4 months a year or something, it might be worth getting in contact. So then you find a show that you like, you listen to a few episodes, and then you contact the host via email if possible, and have a short summary of who you are, what shows you've listened to, why you think you'd be a good fit. And Kathleen can help you create a 1-sheet, and you can ask them if they want you to send that, or you can attach it to the email and send it. And also have a media kit on your website, so you can link to photographs, bios, anything else that you think a journalist might be interested in. Put that on your website, and it just makes it easy for people to find you, and you don't have to add loads of attachments every time to your emails, because then the more attachments you have, the more likely it is that somebody's server might reject your email and they might not get it, or it could go to junk.
You know, the growth that you've had in the short time that we've been working together just boggles my mind. I mean, you are just like such a rock star, but you've probably put in as much effort in a few months that most people will put into for years. And so I just want to say that with massive action gets massive results. And we have a few questions. I want to read one from Heidi Tucker. Can you talk more about repeat contact to the bigger shows and suggestions on how not to be too obnoxious when trying to get their attention? Before you answer that, I want to give an example. We did a group training the other day, and during the group training, somebody mentioned a woman that has the Authors Connection show, Danielle. And apparently Danielle is kind of hard to get on her show. And I said, well, let me just show you how I do it with LinkedIn. Went on LinkedIn and I sent a message. Well, spell check misspelled her name. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm giving an example and I totally blew it. So I wrote Danielle again right after that. And I said, spell check, sorry about that. Would love to connect. Well, one thing led to another. We got off the training. She and I communicated back and forth. We were talking about what it's like to be a host, some of our frustrations as we're hosts when people approach us and they're not even a fit for the show, yada, yada, yada. Today, after this Facebook Live, she and I are having a Zoom call because we're going to talk about collaborative opportunities. Now, how is that for just taking advantage of an opportunity and having no attachment to the outcome, but seeing where it goes? And that's really one of the things, Heidi, that you want to look at is you want to engage the host in a way that you're not being salesy from the beginning, but you're really showing them that there's value in a conversation. So, Natasha, what would you say is a way to approach the bigger shows without being obnoxious?
So one thing I've started doing, and I've started to have results now, is I find the journalist, the podcast host, quite often they're one and the same thing. They have their own magazines and they have a podcast show, whatever. So I find them on LinkedIn or Twitter or social media and I follow them. And then I start liking their stuff. I start commenting on it. So I become visible before I've even come to them as I want to be on your show. And just recently, this just happened in the last month, we had 2 hosts just immediately, as soon as I started following them, they contacted us and said, do you want to be in our show? And I was like, oh my God, I haven't even had to write an email. It saved me so much time. I haven't had to sell myself. I just said, yes, here's my one sheet if you want it. When should we book? Boom, done, booked. So easy. And I guess that's because they look us up and they probably see that we've done other podcasts because I put them all on social media. Every time I'm on a show, like yesterday, I think a show was released, boom, it's on LinkedIn. So if anyone looks me up on there, and I put it on Twitter as well. If anyone looks me up, they're going to see, oh, she was on a show the other day. Oh, scroll down. She was on a show last week. Scroll down. Oh, she could be a good fit for my show. So that's a great thing to do.
You just hit on something that I really want to emphasize with people. You promote the episodes that you've been on. And this is what a lot of people, you're doing everything right. And that's why you're I just want to say, remember me when you hit the big times, the big times. I mean, remember us little people, but quite seriously, it's like you're doing everything right. It's like you're on an episode and you promote it, and hosts love that because when we do episodes, we're doing it because we want to get traction for our message and for our guests and all that. And when a guest is proactive, and I'll tell you that, again, having the track record really makes a difference. Margaret Mary, who wrote Scandal in the Shadows. It's a very niched book to do with women in the priesthood in the Catholic Church. Very controversial topic. And when we first started working with her, booking her shows, because she's a private client of mine, we had an uphill climb because people were like, oh, that's a really controversial topic. She didn't even have a website. So we helped her with that. And of course, folks, that's not part of the Podcast Rockstar Club. There is a separate fee for that. But we put her website together. We put a media page together. We did all these different things for her. And now when I am in different groups and I see that somebody's looking for a guest that fits her criteria, or if I see somebody that would want Natasha on the show, if you're visible to me and I like you and we work well together, trust me, I will create opportunities for you. And with with Peg, well, Margaret Mary, her nickname is Peg. With Peg, there was somebody the other day that posted something, and I sent them the link to her media page, and they said, at first I was going to say no because we don't do religious topics, but I looked at her website and her media page. We want her on the show because there's social proof. There's all these different episodes of shows that she's been on. So, Natasha, I just want to say you're just amazing at how you're doing everything right. And this comes from another Natasha. She's saying, this is inspiring, Natasha. I'm in the process with the training and have scheduled it out to completion. And that's what you need to do. Here's a question from Honey Smith that I think this would be more for me than you, but we can certainly have you answer it if it feels like it's a fit. Hi, Kathleen. Great show and tips for success. Do you upload your podcast in whole episodes or do you chop them up in shorter segments? I don't know if I dreamt that up or not, but the process is longer for shorter segments. Honey, mostly I put the full episode up, but I might take a 2-minute segment that I can upload directly that video onto Twitter, Instagram, wherever I want to put it. But for the most part, I put full episodes. Natasha, do you ever get episodes of shows you've been on and take snippets of it and upload the snippets, or do you put the whole episode up?
I'm really not that techie, so I just tend to put a link to the show. But one of the hosts recently, he sort of fell in love with Ed, and he and Ed have a kind of bromance now, and he's making sourdough and he's sending Ed, all his updates. Now that's awesome. Host, yeah, it's really sweet. So we're kind of making new friends during the pandemic. But he actually put a small segment on social media, and I think that this is actually a better way to promote the show. So it's nice if hosts can give you that segment if they've edited it and found the best chunk, because as you know, people engage with video more than they do anything else. Right. And it gives them a little taste of it. It's almost like having a little TV ad, just flashes up and they can get a taste, and they're like, actually this looks like an interesting conversation, I want to hear more. So I think that it is a good way if you've got the time and the technology know-how to create a small 10-second clip. That's a really nice way to promote the episode, and then you can say click here to listen to the full show.
Absolutely. And I've done that. I did it with John Oberg, who he's awesome, definitely vegan. And he's the one who told me about it. He said, why don't you put the video straight up on Twitter? And I tried and it wouldn't take it. I said, John, I must be doing something wrong. He goes, no, it has to be under 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So I got a 2-minute segment, stripped it out, made it into an MP4, uploaded it directly, and the video showed right away, and you get much more traction that way. So there's all sorts of things you can do. And in the beginning, for everybody, I would say all you want to do is go through the training and implement the strategies to get on shows. Start by getting on shows. Don't try to get too fancy dancy in the beginning. Now, Natasha and Ed are at a place now they can get fancy dancy. I mean, and you can actually hire a VA. You can go on something like Fiverr, for example, and that's FIVERR.com. You can find somebody that you will pay maybe $10 to strip out a 2-minute video. They've got they're maybe in the Philippines, they might be in India, they might be in Africa. You never know where they're at. They charge very little to give you that segment that you can upload directly. Be very careful though. Don't give username and passwords away. You don't need to be doing that to people you don't know. But there are ways around it that are very cost effective. So I want to see, what else do you recommend to people that they can do to get even more visibility?
Well, I mean, just keep a certain day or time of day that you devote to podcasts or visibility in general. And also anything that you write to a journalist or anything, keep it saved, because if they don't use it, you can always recycle it. You can recycle things from blog posts. One of the things Kathleen taught me in the course is you can transcribe podcast episodes, and then you get a full text of what was said, and then you can create a blog post. You can create a purchase funnel where you say, like, we were talking about this particular recipe, here's the link on my website. When they go to the recipe, it may be like, buy the book. And so you can sort of push people towards parting with money for one of your products or services. And so it kind of makes the whole effort more worthwhile, really.
Now, you mentioned book. Do you have a book?
Not yet, but a lot of people are asking us for it. But
I was going to say, okay, and that's something I can definitely help you with because, I actually used to do the Amazon campaigns. I worked with a lot of clients getting their books to market because here's the deal. As you start getting more and more visibility, and you are truly a rock star, Natasha, I'm not just saying it because you're here. I'm saying it because I see so much incredible opportunity in front of you. You're going to be unstoppable. You have to have a book. You need to have what do they call it? The tchotchkes. You need the cups. Like, okay, I've got one right here. I like big mutts, and I cannot lie because we're totally into animals, and that's why I'm vegan. I'll get a plug in there for being vegan. But I would say you probably want to have cups with fun little sayings about your bakery, about rising bread. I mean, there's a lot that you could do with rising bread, but won't even go into that.
We have whole dialogue with bread.
Yeah, I bet you do. But T-shirts, there's all sorts of things that you can make available. And as you get that traction and that visibility, people are constantly on the lookout. How do I grow my business? How do I generate more revenue? Well, you have to be creative. You have to be proactive. And what I'd like to know is, where do you see yourself going with all of this? Where do you see the bakery going? Where do you see being a vegan and being an influencer? You're starting to be an influencer for the vegan movement, which God bless you for that. Where do you see yourself going with all this?
Well, Ed and I, our basic mission is to become established as one of the world's best bakeries that just so happens to be vegan, because we visited a lot of bakeries around the world, and particularly in California, there are some phenomenal world-class bakeries, but they all rely on animal products, and we just can't keep going down that route. I don't want to get too much into veganism on this particular platform, but there's a huge need for people to start eating more plants. That doesn't mean everyone has to put their hand up like us and say, yeah, we're vegan and we're proud. Right. But we do need to eat more plants, and we need to reduce our dependency on them. So if we can become established as the world's best bakery and attract more people to eating plants through any type of food, whole food, plant-based is the ideal. Our bakery is a kind of like a transition type place where you see treats and bread the same as what you would have any other time of your life, any other place, but they're vegan, and we're showing you that you don't have to rely on animal products to eat the things that you've always eaten. There are so many alternatives now. So we want to become established on that and encourage more people to go vegan. So any way we can do that, and then with the bigger impact we make, it would be great if we could contribute more money to rescuing animals and helping people and the planet in different ways. So there's a number of things that we do already. We're a very small micro bakery, but we plant trees for every coffee we sell. We help impoverished farmers in Africa regenerate their land. We've raised money for local animal sanctuaries. We donated a huge amount of money last year to the animals in Australia that were, in sanctuaries because of the wildfires. Right. There's so many good causes out there. So our goal really is just to make a bigger impact and be more of service and more of use in the world. So it's not really to be famous, but we just want to inspire more people.
Well, and what's interesting is when you have that notoriety, when you have that visibility, you can have more influence. It's just a fact of life. Just like when you make more money in your business, there's more good that you can do in the world. Yeah. And it's not, I saw something yesterday. I used to be one of those people years ago where my whole platform was I would teach people how to have a multiple six-figure business. That was my deal. And everything was money driven. And then as time has gone on, I've changed direction and focus. And it's not that I don't want to teach clients how to make money, because I definitely do. But the focus is on having a mission-driven type business. Yeah. And I saw something just yesterday about learn how to make six figures in your business. And honestly, made the hair on the back of my neck stand up, because I thought, if that's what people are leading with, that's not sustainable. Mission-based businesses are sustainable. And there's so many different angles with what you just said. There's so many different angles. And I want people to kind of grab hold of this for your own business. And we're going to happen to use the vegan topic. But one is animal rescue, mission-based businesses, the environment, the pandemic, because it's been proven that viruses are a direct result of factory farming and wet markets and all of that, all animal-based. Resort areas. Right there, I just came up with 5 different angles that you could get on shows with. So what I want people to do, as you're thinking about your own business, as you're thinking about your own message, what are the different angles that you could get on a show with? Like I'll go back to Margaret Mary. With hers, it's one is being an author. That's one angle. Hers is also about women in the priesthood and the Catholic Church. That's another one. Conspiracy theories is another one. And right now, that is so huge. I mean, anything conspiracy theory. So Honey Smith says, oh my gosh, Kathleen, mission-based business. I'm just finishing my first book on my industry, waiting for my new website to go hot to start promoting my ebook on other podcasts like I learned from you. I'm so excited to keep me on the straight and narrow. And here's a tip I'll give you, honey. Have something that you can encourage people to give you their email and their name with. Now, freebies don't always work anymore. It might just be something, get our latest updates. You know, with your store, Natasha, you give a discount code, I think. What do you give to people when they give you their name and email address?
We just say, like, do you want more news fresh out the oven? Subscribe here for updates. And then we sort of tell people what's coming up in the shop ahead of it becoming. So like we've got some Valentine's things coming up. So in last month's newsletter, the people that subscribed got that, and I give them a free recipe as well. And we found actually that a lot of people want this because they get annoyed if they come in after the fact and they go, oh, I heard you had this special thing, and we're like, oh, it's all sold out now, or that was last week. And so they want to know ahead of time. So we kind of make them feel like they're part of like the underground club, like they're in the know, they know what's coming.
People like to be a part of community. They definitely do. And what I love is, as you're giving people the recipe, maybe it's the recipe of the week or the recipe of the month, there's your book right there. I mean, it's like, yeah, you don't want to wait for, honey, with what you wrote, don't wait until the thing is done. Start planning for when the thing is done so that you have the critical mass. I'm working with a client right now in the plant-based industry, and they happen to be an employment board, and we're looking at getting them on a lot of podcast shows. The very first thing we did, their one sheet. Talk about the one sheet. How important is it? How often do you get asked for it? Do you think that it was a waste of time to put it together, or was it the best use of your time? Let's talk about that.
I have never been asked for it because I generally send it to, in the past, I would always send it to them ahead of time, but now I'm starting to see hosts approach us. And so then I'll just say, yeah, want to be on your show. Definitely. Thank you for the opportunity. Here's my one sheet. And I've actually had an interesting response that some of the hosts are actually a bit overwhelmed by how professional and, this looks, and they'll be like, oh, it's just going to be like a casual conversation. I think they kind of don't expect to get that. And one of the local newspapers that did a write-up on us said, like, wow, you guys are like actually like really organized and professional, because none of the other businesses in this town are doing anything like this. I haven't heard any of them on any shows. I haven't seen any media kits or one sheets on their websites. So
and where did you learn about one sheets?
Kathleen Gage's Rockstar Podcast Club.
Podcast Rockstar Club, Kathleen Gage. And for those people who are listening to this after the fact, if you want to join the podcast club, which I encourage you to do, it's very reasonably priced. I kept it reasonably priced because of the pandemic, and I know people are on limited budgets.
It's good value.
Yeah, thank you. But go to powerupforprofits.com. That's powerupforprofits.com/podcast rockstar. powerupforprofits.com/podcast rockstar, which with what I just did, let's talk about when a host says, well, Natasha, how can people get in touch with you? What's your strategy for where you send them, and just take us through that process.
So first of all, you thank them for asking the question, because this prepares the listener for information that's following. Learn that from Kathleen. So you go, thanks, Kathleen. Thanks so much for asking. We do have a website, and then you say it twice and you say it slowly. edsbred.com. That's edsbred.com. edsbred.com. You can also find us on Instagram, because that's our biggest channel. And that's eds_bred, EDS_BRED. That's bread spelt like Ed, BRED.
I love it. I love it.
Those are our two biggest ones. And then when you go to the website, we've got our links there. So it's like us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook or what have you.
And the main thing to keep in mind, and thank you for that, because you gave a great example of exactly how to do it. You spoke it slowly, you said it twice, you spelled it. And, you know, as a host, when I have somebody who gives me 50 different locations, it's like, no, one or two, that's all you need to do. And your Instagram page is phenomenal. I encourage people, and we'll put it in the show notes. We'll make sure that people have access to it, because the images, they're so professionally done and just so enticing. And, you know, I will tell you that when Karen and I come to visit, I'll then tell you whether or not you're world class, because I think you are, but I have to come and visit.
Taste it.
And I've already got a place to stay. Who was it you introduced me to the other day? Tina. Oh my gosh, what a rock star she is.
She loves you.
She already invited me to her home. You know, I said, well, you know, Karen and I will be coming up. She's going, you have a place to stay. That's the beauty of being on podcast shows. You get invitations to travel all across the world, not just the country, but the world. And I want to see if people have any more questions before we wrap it up. But what are your final tips to people as other people put questions in the box and do it on the Facebook page? What are some final recommendations you have for people?
Think about a traditional ad in your local paper. I know for us, a cheap, small ad for 1 week would cost about $200 and something. So I'm pretty sure that Kathleen's Podcast Rockstar Club is about the same price or cheaper. And so if you're learning the formula to then get on shows that doesn't cost you any money, because you shouldn't have to pay any money, that's something else Kathleen says, you just invest a little bit of time and you get your template for your email of, hi, I'm so-and-so, this is what I do, this is my one sheet. You can copy and paste that and just edit it a little bit. Make sure you always change the name of the show and who you've listened to on the show before. But you can have these templates ready, the one sheet, you can edit that to make it match the show. And then it's just a formula, really. Find a show, contact the host, like them on Instagram, then see if they contact you. If they don't, email them. And then if they don't email you, first of all, sometimes I try and find another email way in. So it could be that they have a website. So the first time I email them, I do it from my personal email, just direct. And then if they don't respond, I go through their website and I say, hi, I hope you don't mind. I know you're probably very busy. So I thought it'd be helpful if I sent this again. And sometimes that's what happens. The host actually doesn't see the email the first time. It could go to junk, or they're so overloaded with emails, they've just skipped past it because they didn't know who you were. And they often say, thanks for, sending me that again, because I would like to have you on the show and I didn't get your first email. So you can sort of always show that you're being of help to them. You're not an annoying person that's hassling them, but you're actually saying, I think you might be very busy. And so for that reason, I hope you don't mind, but I'm just sending you this again so it doesn't get missed. And then the response actually is a lot more positive. And they say, oh, thanks for doing that. I'm so glad you did. And I know that you've on the last live thing that we did, Kathleen, you said that you'd missed somebody's email and really appreciated them getting back in touch. So that's another strategy.
And that ties in nicely with the question about being obnoxious and sending too many messages. Yeah. Think about, I have actually 4 primary emails that I use for different reasons. Like with this new client that I'm working with, we have an email specific to their company and their organization. And so I go in there, I've got a Gmail account for newsletters I sign up for. I've got a Comcast account, and then I have Kathleen at KathleenGage.com. And I have to look at all of those. And I got to tell you, it gets overwhelming at times. So don't assume that just because you didn't hear from a host, they don't want you on the show. And you also brought up something really important, Natasha. Thank you for this, about paying to be on shows. You do not need to pay at this point in time to be on shows. There has to be a really good reason for you to part with your money to be on a show. And some people will say, well, we promote it through social media. We put a blog post up. We put it on YouTube. We put it on Instagram, or, wherever they put it. most hosts will do that because we want our show to get traction. So 99.9% of the time, until there's a really, really great reason for you to pay, you don't need to pay. And I just had somebody on LinkedIn who contacted me and he goes, how would you like to get on podcast shows and sell thousands of books? And I wrote him and I said, well, first of all, I've been on thousands of shows. And secondly, is there a cost to it? Because if he tells me there's a cost, I have no interest. If he really wants me on the show because he wants Kathleen Gage on the show, I'll be on the show. So thank you for bringing that up. And I want to see if there's any questions before we close up. But Natasha, you are amazing. I just adore you. I adore Ed. You guys are two of my favorite people.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate all you're doing. And I love the fact that you really are doing a lot to raise awareness around compassion to animals, cruelty-free eating, the fact that you can make such amazing, amazing bread and no animal was harmed in the process. And I mean that sincerely. You know, some people think that's kind of a cute statement. That's not a cute statement. That is a fact of life that I just am so thrilled that we connected. And I want to see if there's any more questions. And if not, we'll just say our final parting words. And thank you so much. I look forward to meeting you face to face when we come up to Whistler, when all the restrictions are lifted. And in closing, any last words?
Just always approach the host, and actually just in general, like I get a lot of resumes from people that want a job with us, and I feel the same way about these people. Always show how you can be of use to the person that you're writing to. Try not to be, I do this and I do that, but more like, I think your listeners would like to hear, or my story kind of resonates with certain people that like that person that you've had on the show before. And just sort of always take it that you're useful, you're helpful, and you're going to help their show. And that's why I always market the episodes myself as well, because why wouldn't you? It's a mutually beneficial relationship or
Wonderful.
exchange. It's why wouldn't you market the shows? And really, you know, what are you waiting for? Just get out there today, listen to some shows, and start doing the research. It doesn't take that much. You can do it when you're walking to the store. You can do it when you're washing the dishes. It's easy.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And to those people who were on the live, thank you for your time. And we will have this episode up and running within the next 48 hours. Everybody be blessed, go out, live largely, and just live healthy. Have a great day. Bye-bye.